Oh, good. Yeah, yeah. I like to just hire a service to look over the temple. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, who's Jim Cook?
Jim Cook. Well, this Jim Cook. Let me talk about Jim Cook for a second.
Okay, talk about somebody gossip.
Hmm?
Gossip.
No, he's past the point of gossip. He's a legend now. He passed away. So Jim Cook used to come here. He was an old lawyer from San Francisco. He was in recovery, and he came from the early days of being here. Chris remembers and stuff. Uh, he looked like an Inuit, so to speak, like an Alaskan Indian or something. Very cool, and he was a great storyteller. And I got an email, and it sounded like it was his daughter telling me that he had passed away. So we were talking about Jim passing away at this meeting, and he walks by the window, and he said he stayed long enough to hear people talking about him passing away, and he's just like, I had misconstrued the whole message. It was a message about his daughter, not him. Yeah. And so Jim Cook just was with us for a while. Then he died of old age, and they put him in a place in Terra Linda. I never knew this before. It was a house, but it was three nurses lived there, and they put people in that house, almost like a hospice. And he had a little room next to the pool, and it took a long time. It was amazing, but it was very, I had a lot of feelings around it, and I'd go in there, and he had a lot of wisdom and stuff, and so whatever. So we decided when we did the book, we put it in his memory, whatever. But the coolest thing was a guy who was a hairstylist. Yes, you're not the first hairstylist. There were a long line of hairstylists in Zen Mitzvah. So this hairstylist, he was working, and hey, come on in, man. Good. All right, and we have a few chairs back there, so now you get the front row seat. So this hairstylist had a book, one of our books, and he was doing some lady's hair, and the lady saw the book, and the lady looked at it, and it was Jim Cook's wife. So she saw the dedication on the first page, never knew about it, and she saw it. It was pretty cool, man. It's very moving. Yeah. And he got on the phone and he called me right when after it happened, and he said, yeah, it was very cool. So that's who Jim Cook was. Jim Cook he died sober. He was pretty old about that time, maybe 80. No. He may have been he was past 80. He was past that, but he had been sober a long, long time. And he actually did he was a lawyer, but he did storytelling as a side thing. So he would do it at libraries and stuff. He was a very good storyteller.
For kids, or just storytelling?
For kids and for adults. He was great. And so we just loved him, and he passed away. So I think we have him and then there's another guy who just passed away. This guy, David Newman, who, I met him when he got in touch with me, but he set up some talks in Philadelphia area. So I went there, and he was a big, what's that stuff? It's like spiritual music, bhakti, but what's the name of the music?
Oh, kirtan.
Kirtan. He was a very big person in the kirtan world, and he had written some beautiful songs and everything, and with Western, language and stuff. And so I got to know him pretty well over the years. Very, very good dude. And he just passed away at 61. He had something, and then they found out it was like cancer of the brain, and then he passed away very fast. So if we do another book, we'll put it. We have a list now. We got Jim Cook. We got Z Zlatko. Zlatko is our, yeah. So Z, Jim Cook, and maybe David.
So it's like tier membership. 10-year membership, 20-year membership, 30-year membership.
Well, they have lifetime membership now.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's after you've done with your lifetime, that's the lifetime membership. Yeah, yeah. So it's nice. We used to do a lot of talks with that kirtan. You ever heard of kirtan? It's like they've taken like old bhajans and they've sort of sussied it up a little bit and put English language, and it evokes a sense of peace and devotion and stuff like that. And so a lot of them would ask if they would do do a song or two before the talk. Everyone would get ecstatic, and then I'd come in. I say, "All right, now here's the bad news." But it was strange bedfellows would happen. It was just weird, but it just went the way it went, and it's always been that way. So welcome. Yes, welcome. And I think some more people are coming, but we'll start in a minute. Actually, we should start now. I have the Zoom. I have to say, we do the Zoom at the same time. Who's doing it, Mike? Is it you today? Yeah? All right. You want to start? Oh, it's Amelia. Yes. Well, I'm used to Amelia running the show. Yeah. We should do well today. Well, welcome, everyone. We have a nice crowd today. Some old characters. They're not old, but come to AA Zen this up long time. Everyone there. Hey, Chris, everybody. Yeah. Ali. We've got our merchant marine. We've got our hairstylist. We have our fitness. We have our fashion. The fashion police. Oh yeah, she's a model for a day. Yeah, the fashion police took a break.
Temple of Lost Hair.
Temple of Lost Hairs, right there. Yes.
You need a lawyer,
A lawyer? Right. I'll talk to you later. I'm gonna sue Muji. I'm suing Muji and Ajashanti. It's a class thing, whatever you call those.
Class action.
Class action. Yes. It's just it's a joke. It's a joke. Just remember, you can't, if you don't take what I say seriously, that's the best way to go, because it's just a joke. Really, there's nothing we can do. Yeah. And in one way, that's incredibly great. And in another way, it sort of sucks. But there's nothing you can do. No matter how much you believe you're not what you are, you're what you are. Yeah. And when you're attempting to deny what you are as what you are, you're more what you are. So this is the dilemma, and this is the message of, I feel, non-duality. The message of non-duality is a pointer at something that changes the direction. It doesn't say change your direction. It just points at something, and then the direction changes. So it points at the imaginary noun, yes, in this event of verbing. It just points at that, and you just sit with it. And you may see, if you're seeing it, obviously it's not you to begin with. Yeah. If you see an activity going on, you're not the activity. So if you see selfing going on in the head, you're not self. Yeah. You're not the activity. You're the awareness of the activity. Yeah. And basically that's where we are, but we don't think so. So the thinking has us somewhere else, and we're sort of in that somewhere else. We're bound in it, so to speak, because that which wants to escape that someone else is someone else. Yeah. So the prison, part of being in the prison is wanting to escape from the prison. It's probably the biggest aspect of the prison, is wanting to get out of the prison. Now, in this case, if you see you're not that prisoner, you may see the prison as a temple, basically. It can just change. Now, you're not going to chant, it's a temple, it's a temple. It's not going to work. It's going to reinforce the idea of it's a prison. Yes? I've had it very clearly demonstrated. You don't need tons of examples. It may be required or it may not be, but there's no essential need for tons of examples. One example can show the whole thing. So there I was, Course in Miracles, introduced to it, got involved with this group, because at that point in my road of spirituality, all I believed at that point was evidence, like demonstration. Kundalini, Shakti, get back there. There's some chairs in the back. Yeah. Nice to see you. Yeah. Kundalini, trance, whatever. I didn't believe that the talking. I wanted to see some. Yeah. And so this group I got engaged with, called the Endeavor Academy, they were just demonstrating like crazy. I mean, you'd be sitting in a talk and one lady would be going, woo, woo, woo. Another would be trance walking around. It was just, Kundalini was insane. You know, it was insane. So, and I realized the body has to do with something of the obstruction. It just has to be, because like when you're a kid and if you went to Catholic school once a week, they'd have a class where they'd go over God, so to speak. And they'd say God has three basic attributes. It's omnipresent, meaning is everywhere, omniscient, all-knowing, and omnipotent, all-powerful. And as a kid, I was just innocently confused. Why am I not bumping into it? Yeah. I figured I definitely qualify. I'm somewhere and everywhere. Why am I not bumping into everywhere? It was confusing. Well, this is the message of non-duality. It tells you why you're not bumping into it. Because first of all, you are it. So everything else you're bumping into is what you are bumping into it. And you are seeing everything from what you're not, and you want to bump into God, so to speak. It doesn't work, because you are that which you're looking for. All right. So there I was. So there was a lesson in the Course of Miracles. I don't know which one, 160 something. And it was, I'm not a body. Wow. That's what I needed. So I would sit and I basically would chant it a little bit. I am not a body. I am free, for I am as God made me. So created me, something. It was a tricky little saying. And I would chant it for a couple hours. And then a couple of days later, it was revealed to me, the only thing that would chant it's not a body is the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw the dilemma that non-duality actually presents and confronts. And it was one example, but it was a pretty powerful example. And another example I had was when I was involved I lived in Australia at this town called Byron Bay. And I ran into this event that was happening coming from the Rajneesh community, Osho community. They had a large contingency there, a huge community in Byron Bay. And they were putting on this 8-day like therapeutic retreat. Now I had done meditation retreats and I felt like I'd seen the end of that. Yeah. Yeah. Not that I have any argument with it. I just saw something I saw the claiming of being the meditator, and I did not believe meditation is going to beat the pronouncement that you're the meditator. I just didn't see it, because I did a lot of meditation. It wasn't like I really had my own evidence through my own activities, not mine, but whatever. So I signed up for this thing, and it was pretty cool. They could induce cathartic events. They were quite good at it, man. I mean, 90-something% of the people were tripping out. Yeah. So you'd have a big meeting and they had 3 circles. It was called the Miracle of Love. No, the Path of Love. And they took it from another group called the Miracle of Love. They took it, they changed it a little, threw Rajneesh up there with videos at night, but it was really from another group. So I'm on it, and then in the morning you'd have these meetings, and then in the afternoon they clear it was bigger than this without the wall. Pretty much that. And they'd clear the whole place up and put mattresses, and had a DJ, and then they'd start playing music, and people would just go off, crying, going bananas. And they had all these people sitting quietly around the periphery of the room. Very influential, but no one said anything. Very powerful. So everyone's going off, and then I was going off. I would be saying, I'm not going to, and then I'd be going off. So it's the 6th day or something. I went off and I was just crying, and I was, tears that were like worth thousands of years of longing. You know what I mean? I can never get back. That was the chorus. I can never get back. I can never get back. Like I had left the Godhead or I'd left infinity. And it was sort of like Nicolas Cage wanting to screw Meg Ryan gave up its wings, you know. I can never get back. And I'm crying and all the people that are running it were very curious and they actually saw a great moment happening in me. And I'm crying. And they basically stopped and they took me out of the room. I was carried, the numero uno participant. It was fantastic. And so obviously, when the statement I can never get back was based on I had left something I should never have left. And somehow there's no bueno, no mea culpas. I'm never going to get back. I can't erase this. Yeah. And it just went off and off and off, just riffed on that one thing. A couple of days later, after the thing ended, I was there and I go, wait a minute, you know, I can never get back because I never left. This is why I say the non-duality man is bad news, because, man, my head was into, I left something. And I'm going to now try to either avoid that at all costs or go try to make, you know, lifetimes of purifying and mea culpa. But the point of I had never left was fucking had no excitement or bling whatsoever in it. It's like, what? I mean, I couldn't even, if I had just, I was going to start a blog post on how, you know, I can never get back. And it would have been over in a day because it would have turned into I never left. Who cares about that? I'm interested in you fucked up and now you're trying. No, what? You never left? Who cares? So basically, that's the dryness of this message. And it really culls a lot of activities of the head, like the spiritual seeking and looking for the rush and the peak experiences. It culls that out because this is, to the head, is completely boring. It's like the eye of Sauron. It's a thing the eye of Sauron never stops at. It's just looking for, and it's right there because the eye of Sauron sees absolutely no value in it. Yet that's the value. The head sees no value in it. That's its great value. You got to see what wants it is the reason why it's not being available. See, yeah. So losing interest in what's looking for it is what's looking. This is what triggers the sense of being what's looking, is losing interest in the looking for. And I found the losing interest in the looking for can be triggered and supported and reinforced by non-duality and the understanding. I do, because I feel like we were talking earlier, and they're great presentations when people started talking about the other bodies, like the pain body, the energetic body, but they were just adding bodies to the original body. Yeah. So now I have another fucking body, energy, wait a minute. And geez, I got to get a fitness for fucking the pain body, therapist for the pain body, fitness for the energy body, and just try to look better as this body. Yeah. The body idea is fucking so stubborn that it will just mutate into having 4 fucking bodies when there's no one who has a body. That's the message I feel. Yeah. And then it's like that goes unobserved, and then bodies added to bodies. Yeah. Yes, exactly. All right. Then you got to go. It's like the fight, the family of origin is all your trouble. You go through all that, then you have a dream and you have a family of origin on Mars. You got to go through all of Mars therapists. It just never ends. The head will just pull another fucking weed and grow it somewhere. Yeah, so it's not about stopping. It's seeing, not starting. So you don't start at the manufactured point that the head is. Yeah, you start before that. And when you entertain that possibility, this yapping isn't about you. It's easy to fall back because you have always been in the awareness that sees everything. What the head has translated you seeing everything as it's looking. And this is why it uses awareness to be blind to awareness, because it's using awareness right now to seek for awareness. What's looking is being used by this idea of you to look for itself. So what we call looking is awareness, clothed in a duality. Yeah, a claiming of the awareness is me looking. And me looking is the blindness to the awareness. This is the message of non-duality. You don't do anything about it, you hear it. Yeah, and then let the chips fall where they may. Maybe you're going to go full-blown sannyasa and fucking whatever, shave your head and meditate for 18 hours. That will fail, and then that will be a huge success. Or you may get it, and it'll end that fucking seeking. And I'll tell you something. Sooner or later, the seeker is seen as the emperor with no clothes when the seeking stops. When you lose interest in the seeking, you're going to see the nakedness of the seeker. Yeah. Yeah. It's very difficult when it's constantly changing wardrobe and you're engaged in all of the changing. You don't emphasize the times where it has no clothes on. You're emphasizing the next new ensemble. Yes. Oh, yeah. You're missing that. It's a nature is that it's naked and it keeps putting shit on. You're in the seeking, you're more interested in the stuff that's being put on and taken off than the fact of the nature of that it's naked. Yeah. But now you see the emperor with no clothes. And now while it's shuffling through its wardrobe and getting new ones and whatever, you still see the emperor with no clothes. It doesn't have to be an event. It's an understanding now. You understand there is no emperor and it has no clothes. That's what you understand. Clothes or no. And you know, the power of it, I had once, it blew my mind. I was 11 years old, 12 years old, and I saw my mother in a compromising position. She was laying down, and I saw her from the feet up, and it was very disturbing to me. Yeah, she was sort of naked, and I just never saw anything like that. And my mother and that orifice didn't match, you know, your mother. So I was just blown away. And then for the next months, every time I saw my mother, I saw her that nakedness. You see her, whoa. It was really, it left a big impression for a long time. Seriously. So this is so much more powerful than that. You do. You see it is. You see and it was powerful. It was very powerful. No matter where she was or what she was wearing, I saw her horizontal, you know, just unbelievable. So this is much more powerful than that, much more, because it's going to be supported by the existence. The I amness is our existence. Yeah, it is truly the fountain that we drink from all day. Yeah, the existence of I am is now going to be used to reinforce the I am, not to reinforce I am Paul. Yeah, because the head is using the I am as evidence that Paul is what exists. It's using the evidence of existence and it's giving it to a non-existent idea called Paul. Yeah, so it's not about I don't exist. No, it's about seeing the difference between I am and then I am Paul, because I am Paul is different than I am completely. And I am Paul starts at Paul. I am doesn't start or end. It just is. Yeah. And when there's a sense and your let's say your sensors pick up the I am is much different than the mental yapping. You know, the mental thing is very, very with big gaps that it jumps over. But this other one is like always playing like bass note. Yeah. That everything comes and goes with it. Yeah. But the song that's being played on that bass note doesn't change the bass note. Yeah. It can be the bass of a lot of different, you hear it now. There'll be like bass riffs from jazz now they use in hip hop or this and that. It's the same bass riff or the same like cha-cha-cha drumming, and now they use it in all these manufactured musics. Yeah, but the bass line's the same. Well, it gets like that. So now something that seemed to be very confusing is now undisputed. It's just clear. Yeah, And then you come to grips with this idea of being an action figure. Yeah. And instead of denying or trying to, there's more, you start living in an atmosphere of acceptance, not because it has reached your mental goals. You've given up on it. Yeah. You're just okay today. Yeah. And basically, you see what happens. Yeah, you see what shows up, and it's all forgotten anyway. I can't remember a thought I've had in months, really. There's plenty of them that passed by. Not one seemed to stick with any fucking thing. I'm trying right now. I was awake at 8 in the morning. Thoughts must have nothing. No, not one hit the important, category at all. It's amazing. It's just like, like a babbling brook on the property. I've realized it's not, its idea is that it can block you from what you are is insane. So you can coexist with what you're not quite easily, because what you're not is actually playing in a different frequency. It's of time and space, and you're not. Yeah. So in this case, two things can be happening at the same time, because one of them isn't a happening and it's not time. Yeah. So then time and all this shit can happen on the basis of there's no time. Yeah. Yeah. And there's no, after a while, all your like, spears and things to go to war with that get blunted. And you just, hey, it's like, hey, what's up today, Paul? Me. Well, it's just, what I mean? You can, its smallness is guaranteed. It'll never disappoint you. Just goes off. And it's basically looking for things. It likes a cushion. Yeah. If it's cold, it wants a sweatshirt. It's just, yeah. It's simple, easy. But when it's like meant to be like the chariot of the gods, it can't handle that pressure. You know what I mean? Have you noticed when you are interested in something like health, you get sick? Quite a lot. I mean, Amelia loves passion fruit. Every passion fruit plant we get dies. She's amazed. I'm going to, and then she says, oh, they live far away. We get it from someone around the block, dies. Well, so it's not the environment. She wants it to fucking grow. So it's like that little kid when I was a kid looking at the bugs and wanting to see the color of the shell, and then using a magnifying glass, not realizing that the sun was right there. And I was looking at the thing, the sun was cooking it. Yeah. Well, you're the magnifying glass, your head. And the aperture it's set on is self. You're obsessed with this idea of you. And therefore, every topic that is brought into that gets affected more by the aperture than the topic affecting the aperture. Yeah. Yeah. So I saw it like when I was young, I had trouble with my stomach and I wanted it to be different. I got to one point where I was living a macrobiotic diet. I even had to talk with the main dude, Michio Kushi. The only thing I remember out of that interview is don't eat onions. That's the last thing. He said tons of shit, but the last thing, don't eat onions. All right. So I stayed away from onions. But I would go in a sauna, because you don't drink anything, just bunch of tea. I would go 200 in no sweat. It was just fucking, and all day my center of the universe was my small intestine. I was just constantly dwelling on how it was doing. It was fucking, I was the worst fucking, I was getting the exact opposite, looking for something else because there was too much power. You don't know how powerful we are. We make mountains out of molehills. We do. We're beyond like Jesus bringing that guy Lazarus back to life from the dead. At least Lazarus was alive once. We make shit out of nothing all day. I mean, and truly pantomime effects, we're always in causeless effects, like the Course in Miracles says. If you're in a dreaming and you're having a huge effect, it's a causeless effect. Yeah. In the dream, if you're afraid of the tiger that's appearing in the dream, that tiger is a causeless effect. It's not a real tiger. Yeah. but you taking it to be real causes the effect. But it's a causeless effect. There's no real tiger, therefore there should be no real fear, but we have real fear by misidentifying a fake tiger. Yeah, powerful, big magnifying glasses. We need something else. We need to lose interest, really. To me, the whole salve, S-A-L-V-E, of non-duality is losing interest in that which wants to be liberated. So you lose interest in the need to be liberated because you're not that which needs to be liberated. Your liberated spirit doesn't need to be liberated. It's the body that seems to be bound. And when we're identified as the body, but as a spirit, we're trying to get liberated as a body instead of seeing you're not a body and realize there's no need for liberation. That's how it goes. I watched the dominoes fall, and that's how I came back to see it. Yeah. Yes. The dominoes fell because I lost interest in the dominoes falling. And then they just fell on their own. Yeah. As long as I was wanting them to fall, that was holding them up. Just the way it goes. So this power obviously has been directed to these mental ideas through a lot of interest and attention because the head, this is what the Course in Miracles says it beautifully. He says, you're hearing an interpretation of life. And they say it's coming from the brain. And the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. So the brain's taking in information based on conscious contact, not the brain. The brain is not in contact. Consciousness is in contact. And then the contact and the information goes through the brain, and the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. So it sees everything in a self-body-centered way. Yeah? You can't blame it. You're not going to change it. It's not AI, it's programming. Programming doesn't have the ability to change. It can change a little bit, but it's not going to transform itself. You got to get it. It's mechanical. So the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. Yeah? But this whole event, that brain, its interpretation is very, very quick, but you could have an interpretation of the brain that does not interpret to the body of which it is a part. Yeah. And this is like if you were, let's say, a stagnant or like obstructed spring, all you may need is one drop of water to start flowing. And this is really what non-duality is like. Yeah. It's one drop of water. It gives it right back to water. And that one drop of water triggers the water to start doing what it does naturally. And that means flow. Yeah. That's it. It's not a fucking replacement. It's an incitement. The invitation incites something that most invitations do not incite. Most invitations incite the brain to interpret the invitation to the body. And this is the dilemma with processes and practices. Yeah. The brain has already interpreted pertaining to the body. So there's going to be a noun doing all of the selfless shit. You're not going to beat it after. The brain's interpretation is pretty fucking fast. If you get a supercomputer brain, who fucking programmed that? A brain that was interpreting to the body. Yeah. Whatever you're going to get as an antidote to that is going to be from that. You're going to still get it from the fucking brain, and the body's going to be included. Energy body, pain body, body, everybody. Yeah. This is before, just seeing the process. You don't do shit to it. You just see it, and you see it without volition or choice, which would be a mental reaction. You see it as mechanical. It just does what it does. Yeah. There's consciousness brings something into contact. The brain interprets it to the body. Good to know. I would like to further my development as a body. No. I'm tired. Through the body? No. With the body? No. Is there any other possibility? Not from the brain's point of view, because it interprets every possibility to the body. If you believe in the Course in Miracles, that's what it's saying. People are big believers in the Course in Miracles, it's right in that book. Page 468, the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. That you should know. That's what it says. Very, very important. I hope you have now. The brain interprets to the part of the body of which it is a part. That you should know. Okay, we've done that job. Yeah. So, oh, I don't want it. Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It just, that's what it does. But that's not you. You're before that. Hallelujah. So you can see the brain interpreting to the body of which it is a part, and maybe lose interest in that interpretation. Why? Because it's worthy of being lost of interest, because it's very myopic. It pertains everything to a body identification, and that hasn't worked. Yes. All right. Fucking throw up your arms. I failed. Hallelujah. Now a new possibility shows up. Yeah. Not for the brain, but before the brain. And then you realize everything I've ever done was a process that came after the process of the brain interpreting to the body. No matter what it said, the brain was going to do the same thing with it. It was going to interpret it to the body. And I saw that, I experienced it. I experienced it a lot. So I believe the mental process that's presenting us as a body is the quickest process, and processes of time, yes? And the only thing, and if you do a process after that process to change that previous process, it's going to be infected by the previous process. So you are going to try to weaken the idea of self and be actually being used to reinforce the idea of self. It says completely beautifully, I humbly believe in Ramana Maharshi. It says there's a presupposing. So it means historically assumed. Yeah, to presuppose something would be historically assumed. So it's not like it's going to happen, it already happened. So what are we going to do about it? Yeah, this is how self gets us. The idea of self says it's already so. Yeah, so you have an idea of using that land, but there's a big building on it. What are you going to fucking do with the building? See, but it's not true, but the seemingness of it is strong. So the presupposing of a non-existent thing, you and I are a non-existent thing. Yeah. You and I are moving because there's existence. Your eye is seeing because there's existence. If the existence seems to move out of that, doesn't mean it moves anywhere else. It just moves out of this. Yeah, that perfect eye that's still perfect ain't going to facilitate any seeing. You could actually take that eye out. If you get a guy we know does it, he actually delivers them in a certain amount of time and put it in another live body, it would facilitate seeing. But it's not going to facilitate seeing when it's in a non-existent thing. Yeah? So there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing being an existent thing. So existence enlivens this. The brain doesn't see that. The brain sees what's enlivened is it. So the body that's enlivened is the existence. It's not true, but talk to it, the brain. You're not going to convince it otherwise. Yeah. So presupposing of a non-existent thing. We go over it. I saw an uncle of mine when I was 9 or 10. He passed away. So he was in a casket at a wake. I had many times I saw him, this body, and I called it Uncle Fred. My mother took me up to the casket to say goodbye to Uncle Fred. I looked in. I saw the body of Uncle Fred, but I had a very strong hit. That ain't Uncle Fred. It was just that fucking simple. I was mistaking Uncle Fred with the existence. And it was clear that was happening when the existence seemed to have gone. If the existence was still there, I'd still be doing it, yeah? But because the existence was gone, it was a perfect example. And then in hindsight, later on in my life, I could see why I thought Uncle Fred was a body, because I'm looking at being a body myself. Yes? We're trying to add so many fucking bombs and potions and homeopathic medications to affect an imaginary fucking thing. It's the biggest thumb sticking out, and we're putting tons of bandages on everything else instead of just maybe you're not the thumb. Seriously. So it says this is beautiful, beautiful. Presupposing non-existent thing being an existent thing. This is how the brain's seeing us all day. All right. Now the existent thing wants to get salvation for the existent thing because the existent thing is bored. The existent thing isn't happy because it has a fucking agitated condition called the mental condition. The mental condition is, its nature is agitated. Its nature is not peace, it's agitation. So many of us who are addicts, who've ended up that way, were driven by an irritability, restlessness, and discontentment. Those could be indications of an agitated state, yes? Agitated, yeah, we're relying on an agitated state. So the non-existent thing now as an existent thing wants to get salvation, not from the non-existing thing as the non-existent thing. This is the dilemma. And this stubbornness is fucking powerful. We keep trying to get it as what can't get it. I saw it with addiction. That irritability, I used to read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe. I read all of Edgar Allan Poe before I was 12 years old. That's how agitated I was. Science fiction, love Philip K. Dick, all these people. Then I was introduced to drinking. Oh, fuck the books, let's start drinking. Got some relief. This is too slow. Drugs, okay, bammo. Whoa, intravenous drugs, better. I went half a second right to the brain and the heart. On and on and on and on. Failed miserably, went into spirituality, tried the same thing with a different vehicle, get better as a self or get out of self as self. That failed, went back to drugs. Did that failed, went back to spirituality. It doesn't get it. Every wall it hits, it just backs up and gets in a new vehicle and then hits the same fucking wall, backs up, I'm going to go fucking native now or raw or whatever. But the same center of the whole story is never affected. It's wanted to be affected, but the basis of it being there is never questioned. It's the existent thing. Yeah. But it isn't. It's a non-existent thing. And he says, all right, if this is the case, and the way he presented it, this is the case, your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing the non-existent thing. What? How can they destroy it? This is the dilemma. That's hallelujah if you hear it. It is. The dilemma explains everything, and you just give up the ghost. Yeah, you're never going to get out of what you're not in. It's not going to happen. And you're never going to get into what you're not out of. Not going to happen. You can make up all this. I know people, everything they meet is the next amazing thing. They're still searching for amazing. Goes on and on and on. Yeah. So it's the diagnosis, basically. The head interprets to the body. So when it interprets aliveness, it says you're alive. It doesn't interpret aliveness as awareness or whatever, spirit or some vibration, because the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. So whatever it comes in contact with is going to be interpreted to the body. So now you become the doer of consciousness. You're the one who's awake. You're the one who has the spiritual condition. All this, which a spiritual condition is not based on you having it. It's a spiritual condition. Just there's many conditions, yeah? None of them are dependent on you. You're a condition that thinks has everything to do with all the other conditions. And that's not true. So you keep piling shit on thinking it's a solid foundation. And of course it collapses and you blame everything else. But this thing isn't solid. Yeah, it can't hold. It's a failed system. And it says in the course, what can a failed system show you? I throw in, it's failed. That's the beauty. So I feel all the success is by failure. You finally admit every fucking thing you did, I tried to get it. You're never going to get it. Oh, great. Yeah. Some people, oh, I'm never going to get it, but you can hear it and, oh, what a relief. I'm never going to get it because I am it. Yeah. I've been always starting from a manufactured point, and that point cannot change that. It will keep starting from the same point. If it's studying about void, it's still going to start from that point. You see what you're not, and that's enough. You start seeing what you're not, let it reveal itself, and more, you're getting a sense of what's looking at what you're not is what you are. You are the seeing of what you're not. You know, you'll call it awareness or presence or whatever, but there's an onness that doesn't seem to have if it had a light switch, you are not privy to it. And basically, you can live like in AA. AA is incredible because it delivers all the goods. It says, hey, you're going to have a new basis and a new attitude, and a new attitude and a new outlook on life. You're going to have a new freedom and a new happiness, not a fucking reshuffling of the same old, same old. You're going to actually be placed in a new basis. What is that?
Based on what? What's the premise for that?
What's the premise for that in this way is by seeing what you're not, with the understanding you're not that. Powerlessness is a nice place to start. Yes. Powerlessness is the hallelujah of failure. Yeah. So you learn, you've tried to do all this stuff to induce or create a thing. And if it seemed to be so, it would seem not to be so quickly. And you'd have to keep on keeping on. There's a fallacy in all of it. It's just that there's a propaganda station playing all day that's not allowing you to see clearly. It's telling you what you saw. You know, it's like you saw the thing blue and it just keeps saying it's green. Yeah. And after a while, you get beat down and you go with the green. Yeah. But once you give up one color, you're going to give up all the colors. And it just goes on and on. So this is about, you've done all the work you needed to do. Fuck, you've done so much work. We've all done so much work. I'm not talking about specifically, I'm just talking about work. So much resistance, denying love, so much resistance being right, you know, so much holding a resentment for years. It's just like so much weight we've carried unknowingly, really, without knowing it. And to me, I feel awareness with a clear understanding, which I believe non-duality is a clear understanding, is the most efficient mechanism. What your inherent nature is awareness, and then having it for however long or short it needed, wearing a pair of glasses to see clearer, which is non-duality. Yeah. So the seeker is the sought, instead of the seeker and then all the different sorts. Yeah. You had tons of different things you have sought, yes, but it's always been the one seeker. Yes, yes. So what happens is, wow, you get hit with that. The seeker is the sought. You may stop looking. And then that's the finding, really. You find out you already that which you were looking for. By what? Not looking for it. Or losing interest in the looking. You don't even have to stop not looking. You just lose interest that it's you looking. Because it's not. The head is going to keep looking. It is. This is what frustrates some people. They have it. They had the hit, but they don't see any change in the head, and there's still a belief the head is them, so they get disqualified. But no, the revelation occurred. A lot of what you think is you is not you, and it's not going to get it. It's going to keep doing what it fucking does. Yeah, you're believing, oh, I was completely saturated with the truth. And then the next day, this like boner of the head comes out. What? You're so fucking surprised because you still thought it was you. It's not you. You are not getting it. You are not getting this message. You are not getting this message. That's the message. You're not getting it. The head that has it as you is not getting it. For a simple, just one sentence in the huge book of Course in Miracles, because the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. This you should know. Yeah, it settles a lot of shit. It does. Some of the stuff that I've ran into was maybe one sentence, but it was applicable to thousands of fucking things that were going on. And this is one of those sentences that's applicable to thousands of things that were going on. The brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. And you know, the idea of you that says it has a brain comes after the brain. The you is a product of the brain interpreting things. It's not you fighting with the brain. There is no you. The you is in the interpretation of the brain. That's where the you is. There's no you that's before the interpretation of the brain. Yeah? You're like born every moment thinking you've been here a while. You haven't. Yeah? So you now, you're seeing it from the land that we are, the empty land. Nothing's been built on it. Nothing can be built on it. You're there. You're here. And you see through the message of non-duality, you see what you used to look from. You do. You just see what you used to look from. And by seeing it, you used to look from it. You thought you were seeing from there, but it wasn't. It was looking. The awareness was being used to reinforce the brain's interpretation to the body. That's looking. Seeing is awareness. Yeah. Awareness being used to claim something is looking. It's the same awareness. That's why it says what's looking is what you're looking for. It's you don't think so. You think you have a pretty good idea of what's looking for, and it ain't what's looking. That's what fuels you to keep looking for. But this is the beauty of the message. It completely shuts off the engine. What's looking, that which you are using to look for, is what you're looking for. What? So what's necessary? Nothing. Yes. What will happen? You'll lose interest in what's looking for, and you'll gain interest in what's looking. And like in AA, it says simply, you're moving from trusting finite self to trusting the infinite. It's just that. It's a shift. Yeah. It's like a migration. And I think the winter for the birds to migrate is loss of interest in this imagery. It's loss of interest. And then the birds who were just doing what they were doing suddenly get something, they start moving. Yeah. And now they're inhabiting somewhere else. Yeah. You see the place differently without the birds there. Yeah. So this is what, and I cannot lose interest in self as self. It's a well-earned understanding that tons of people in recovery found out by trying to do exactly that. They heard this message of recovery and they tried to get out of self as self. And they came to a conclusion, self can't get out of self. And they pass it on to us that are in the community now. Not in the big book, not in any of the steps, but one of the clearest invitations of people in recovery realizing they were trying to get out of self as self. And they said, hey, you can't get out of self as self. Save yourself some fucking trouble. And this is what understanding can do. Someone who was a well-earned understanding are now giving the understanding freely. It was well-earned in those people, a lot of those people, and they're trying to make it easier for people who come after. So now it doesn't have to be well-earned. You can hear it and it could trigger the recognition. Yeah. But if you never heard it, you're probably going to have to live it and come to the conclusion self can't get out of self, or you can see that conclusion before you come to it. This is called great. This is what you do. If you've been moved by something, just like if you saw a good movie, you want to tell your friends. This is the same thing. Something really fucking worked and it didn't demand much maintenance or shit. I'm going to share it. Yeah. I had a crazy idea. People would have liked it. And most of the time I ran into a lot of resistance, but I came to get used to it all now. People appreciate me maybe 5, 8 years later. Oh, I'm just finally understanding what you said. Oh, great. Yeah. So, but the thing is, sitting here, it seems super clear. I mean, it's speckless. There's nothing. I don't see any mark on it or blur or blemish. And I haven't been moved to go anywhere for years now. Yeah. So.
You
All right.
know, on a moment-to-moment basis as we live, my experience is this person who I think I am my mind keeps hijacking me. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm not losing, you know, my mind's so.
Don't worry, it's gonna weaken. And the thing is, you won't even know when the score changes because you won't be looking at the scoreboard all the time. You won't. Things will just change, and maybe you'll come to, hey, I'm feeling a lot different than I used to feel. You won't. You're not watching every second. Yeah.
It's something different, but not as clear as like you're talking about. You are.
I'm not talking about me. No, I'm talking about us. Yes, please. Me is a fucking restrained lunatic. Seriously. My lunacy had to be restrained, and I learned a lot of lessons, and I behaved myself. And I'll tell you, the head, it's a very important ratio, payoff cost ratio. I used to see it surfing a lot. Yeah. So there was waves there. There was a lot of like agitated water. It was going to take a lot of paddling to get out there. And so I was looking for the payoff, but the cost was going to be too much. And I had a lot of wisdom about it. I just pass on that day because I know other waves are going to come, and there's more days. I don't have to get in there. Yeah. And I started recognizing when things were above my pay scale. So I wasn't put into a life or death situation. So payoff cost ratio, you can learn. So I used to see things that, oh, this would be fun for maybe a day, and I'll put up with the consequences. Now I don't. The consequences are weighed, and the payoff isn't worth the cost. So, yeah, sort of like I like to see gazelles. I don't want to live with one. Yeah, see gazelles, and I see a lovely, lovely, beautiful things. I don't want to own it because that could be other consequences. Yes. So you get this thing learns. It's like the die is shot out from what we are, and it comes through this way, and it's almost as if the head learns through osmosis. It doesn't even know how it's learning. It's not bringing it from here. It seems to be coming from nowhere out. And then I was introduced to a way of life in AA, and it served me great because it set up principles. It told me how fucked I was, and I was in agreement. It taught me about the power that comes from admitting powerlessness. I was all for that. The formal idea of turning your will and life over to care of something else, I'm all for that. That something else is going to do for you what you couldn't do for yourself. I've witnessed that on tons of time. I didn't know I had the capability as this, but I can be convinced, and I was convinced. Finally, it took a long time out there to get me convinced. Get run over twice by a car, get shot at, fucking overdose. Nothing was doing it, but something did it on a normal, ordinary day. Just struck me sober, put an end to it. Wow, it was incredible. And then I was introduced to a way of life that was going to extend that miracle, because it probably would have died on the vine a couple of days later. But I got whacked, got introduced that night to recovery, and 36 years later. And then all that simmering down of all that agitation, all the drama of the surface allowed, I could look down and see the deepness of something. When you're completely occupied with what's going fucking on, you're just completely surface, and you're in a situation of, you're in a hallway of shit and fans, and you don't realize that it's you going into the hallway that triggers the shit and fans, and you're just fucking trying to get better at not getting hit with so much shit and maybe slow the fan down. It was a lose-lose situation. I learned, man. My head learned, and I was beaten into a condition of malleability. And I had an ability, I feel all of us do, knowing it or not, that you can be convinced. And I was convinced of certain things, and I've never been debated again, never been, let's have a forum. No, none of that. Just, I'm fucked, and I'm not managerial quality. Been the basis of the action figure. Yeah. And then now he's not making up all the mess, and so you can just sort of trip around. The mind is tethered to the body through the brain's interpretation. If the body is an incredible drama and shit like that, I never saw, I'm not going to shoot coke and go on a retreat, meditation retreat. It's just not going to happen. You know, because you're going one way and the other shit ain't working. I'll shoot some coke and then sit, you know. it's not going to fucking happen up there. Yeah. So basically, first things first in time, and in time, the action figure had to get sober. And so that became. And then I was able to hear messages that I wasn't able to hear while I was loaded because I didn't hear fucking anything except the interpretation of the brain. Yeah, yeah. And I wanted relief as a body, so I shot up dope in the body. And I was willing to overdose the body with the hopes that I would be there for at least 30 seconds, sans body, and maybe fucking finally have some peace. And I was willing to basically die, and I attempted it many times shooting coke. But because when you're shooting coke a lot, your hands get very shaky and you can't put the needle in at a certain point. And so I needed someone else to push the fucking thing in. They would be looking at my eye and they knew how much, and they knew it was a killer shot. They wouldn't give it to me. Happened over and over again. And I would be super pissed, but I couldn't, it would have been a mess trying to put it in. Really, that's what it was like. And I saw it as a religion. I did. I wanted to transcend this fucking place. And the great wisdom of no escape is there's nowhere to escape from. Yeah, yeah. So that's the great wisdom. Yeah. The great wisdom of the prison is there's no way to escape the prison. It's all a perception, yes. So you're attempting to get out is the bigger form of being in. Most people think they're in something and they're telling the truth about it, and they spend a lot of time trying to get out, but that's the bigger in. Because self can't get out of self. Self is there claiming every moment that you ever have, all your fucking absolute peak moments. As soon as you come down from that fucking high mountain, it claims it, and you have a story of having a peak experience. It's so fucking fast. And it's not going to be interrupted that long. If you come back, it's going to say, I'm having an incredible epiphany, and the epiphany is going to end right there. As soon as it gets claimed, everything changes. Now you can see when you get whacked, you see the act of claiming in a slow, and you can see a lot because in an epiphany, that's claiming has been altered. You're just living and you're just no claiming of what's going on. And it's unbelievable, let's say. And then the head may return. And one of its first things is it says, I'm having an epiphany. As soon as it gets that little foot in the door, then everything that comes after is based on the interpretation of the body. And so the epiphany now becomes something that you had as this body, which never had the epiphany. What are you going to do? Nothing. It's too fast. You start as its idea. You can't beat it. But what you are can. So I used to call it a gunslinger, and every process can't outgun it. But you are before time, and you are like a gunslinger that never has to draw the gun. It's always out. It can't lose. And that's the relief. The relief isn't for self, it's from self. It's from the mental, not as the mental. My mental has been subdued based on fucking what happened down the pike. My mental got fucking disciplined. Yeah. I got disciplined, and it's not fucking bothering the other inmates as much. So, you know, I got this, I sussed out the prison and get Jello on Tuesday. It's got my little shtick going. And then I have a freedom from it all because I don't take it that seriously. Because I can't see it as me. You just can't. Yeah. Just it's just yeah. So every time you go to bed, who says you're gonna wake up? Yet most of us are smiling. Go to sleep. I go to sleep super fast, like 30 seconds. It doesn't look like I'm afraid of what's going to happen. Probably looking forward to it. Yeah, so it's like And, I'm not going to experience death. You are. And hopefully you will write a book and you'll put me in memory of Paul Hedderman, motherfucker. I won't get a call. Paul, someone mentioned, but there's no Paul. Paul is on the brain. Yeah, so yeah, that's good. It's great news, really. So yeah, great news. Well, that's why I believe failure is the greatest success. They used to say that in the course. Your greatest failures are your greatest successes, and your greatest successes are your greatest failures. But in looking at this, that makes complete sense, because if there's a you that wants to get something, it's super frustrated to hear that you're never going to get it. But if you've been over that, never going to get it is great news, because you must be it. Yeah. So the emphasis is what shifts. Yeah. You say the same thing, I'm never going to get it. One person's head, that's fucking terrible news. And then oh, it's great, never going to get it. Yeah. The statement's exactly the same, but what it emphasizes is completely different. This is why it's the message. Yeah. All right. Everyone in the Zoom world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yes, any questions here out at the no? Anyone have anything to say in Zoom, Mike?
No hands showing.
At the oh, yes. I have a hat if you need one, Chris. Oh, yeah, that's too small of a thing. No. Get that big one out. No, it's fine. All right. Anyone have anything here?
You want to see if they have any memoriams for you ahead of time?
No. My ink has runneth over. If you look at the stain long enough, you'll see a reflection. There's Paul. No. I felt humbly as an action figure, I was moved in AA to share something. I feel like life has allowed it to go out, and I'm completely I'm just rolling down the slope. If I had a purpose as an action figure, it was attempting to get a message out into my community. I think it's happened already. Yeah, it doesn't matter how it's received or not, it's out there. That was the point, because I wasn't hearing it when I was in the communities I've been in. So yeah, that was the point. So I'm in a huge win-win going on here, really. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's say goodbye then. You guys stay here until we're going to pass the basket 3 times. Yeah. 3 times. Yeah. They'll break down on the 3rd time. Let's give them the stare on them. And then we're going to go to coffee if everyone wants to come. We go to a place called the Firehouse in Sausalito. And we'd love to have everyone come if they like. So Zen, Mike, pleasure. I think I gave Steve, I think I sent them the info for the talks at back east. We got Mike Clark, as always. Thanks, Mike, for being here. I really feel the support. It's great. Chris in Poland, nice to see you, brother. Yeah, we'll figure another way if it doesn't work that way. But it's nice to share this currency of satsang. John on an iPhone, nice to see you. David Bitterman, I hope you're feeling better. David had a car crash or something. Yeah. But
Yep.
you feel right?
I'm feeling okay. Yeah, the insurance wants to total the car, so that's the big question. The crash wasn't that bad, but the airbags, I didn't realize it's explosives. That's how they can deploy fast enough to save you, but they can also hurt you.
See you. Bye-bye.
But anyways, we'll talk later. I'm gonna see, but yeah, the insurance, whatever. They want to total the car and they say
Well,
it's
you'll
up.
probably get a better car for it.
Oh, hopefully, we'll see. Yeah, but will it be in time? So we'll figure it out. I'll give you a call and we'll talk.
Yeah, all right, bro. So
Thank you.
Rowan, nice to see you. Kathleen, Schmitty. Yes. It's like you never left, Kathleen. Yeah. Moochie, nice to see Moochie.
Thank you, Paul. Good to see you too.
Jay, Canada, J.A. Music going well and everything? Yes?
Yeah, man, it's all good.
Oh, good, good.
It's even warm here, shockingly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Chris H. Nice to see you, Chris. Shannon Corkery. Yeah. Mike G in San Clemente. Christy. How are you, Chris? All right? Yes. Great. Ariane, nice to see you again. Mika from Finland. Judy Lovins. Nice to see Judy. Are you back east, Judy? We're going to be there in June. Maybe we can see you.
You know what? Actually, that's where I'm from originally, but I'm in the Portland, Oregon area now.
You're in Portland. Oh, I forgot.
But I am going to come down south and see you again, possibly
Yeah,
in the
please.
summer.
Oh, great, great. All right. Alan Olson, as always. Oh, we got some. There's someone's insignificant in the back there. Oh, I see it. Yeah.
That's James Olson.
I know. James Olson. I never saw them in that same place at the same time. There they are. James and Alan Olson. That's very good. Nice to see you guys. Thank you.
Good to see you, Paul.
Thank you for all these years. Yes. Zoe Banks, Japan. Yes. Remember, there's a Japantown in San Francisco. Yeah, just remember. See you, honey. Axel. Oh, Cassandra. I was happy to see you. Nice to see you, honey. All's well? Good. Miss Amelia. Wow. Miss Amelia's here somewhere. There she is. Honey, how are you? I should know. I just saw you a little while ago. Oh, yeah. Holly and Ted are saying hello to you. Everyone. Chris, Amelia, and she's a little square. She's a little square. All right, honey. Eric Platt. Nice to see you. We've got Sally D. Nice to see you, Sally. We have Chris Blake, Dennis, Cassandra, Ariane. I think I got everyone. Hey, thanks so much for the Zoom and everyone. Yeah.
Nice.
Keep on trucking.